Imagine waking up one morning to find your city overrun by venomous cobras. Every alley, every garden, every quiet corner suddenly feels dangerous. Now imagine the government announces a simple solution. Bring us a dead cobra, and we'll pay you cash. It sounds brilliant. Fewer snakes, safer streets, everyone wins. But within a few years, there were more cobras than before the program ever began. A plan designed to eliminate a problem had somehow made it worse. Today, economists have a name for this kind of disaster. They call it the Cobra Effect. But the real story isn't just about snakes. It's about one of the strangest blind spots in human nature, and why some of our smartest solutions end up creating the very problems they were supposed to solve. The story is usually placed in colonial Delhi during the time of British rule in India. The city had a serious cobra problem. Venomous snakes lived close to growing neighborhoods, and deadly bites were a constant fear. Officials wanted a fast solution without deploying huge numbers of workers, so they introduced a bounty. Every dead cobra brought to the authorities earned a reward. On paper, it looked like perfect policy. The more snakes people killed, the safer the city would become. At first, everything seemed to work exactly as planned. Dead cobras arrived in large numbers. Payments were made. The government celebrated what looked like a successful campaign. The statistics appeared to prove that the problem was disappearing, but numbers can hide things that reality cannot. Someone noticed that the supply of dead cobras never seemed to slow down. If thousands of snakes had already been killed, why were just as many still arriving? The answer was something almost nobody had imagined. Some people had stopped hunting cobras altogether. Instead, they had started breeding them. A living cobra had become a source of future income. The government's reward had quietly transformed a dangerous animal into a profitable business. Every snake represented another payment waiting to be collected. The incentive had changed the purpose of the cobra itself. It was no longer something to avoid. It was something worth producing. Eventually, the authorities realized what was happening. Furious, they canceled the bounty program overnight. No more payments, no more rewards. The plan was over, but that decision created an even bigger disaster. The cobra breeders suddenly owned hundreds of venomous snakes that had become completely worthless. Feeding them cost money, keeping them served no purpose. So they did the simplest thing they could. They opened the cages and released the cobras back into the wild. In trying to eliminate the snake problem, the government had accidentally increased it. The city ended up with even more cobras than before the policy had begun. For years, this story spread around the world. Economists repeated it. Business schools taught it. Politicians quoted it. It became the perfect warning about unintended consequences. The Cobra Effect entered textbooks as shorthand for any incentive that produces the exact opposite of what was intended. The story seemed almost too perfect. A simple decision, a clever response, a disastrous ending. It explained something people had seen happen again and again without ever having a name for it. But then another twist appeared. Historians began searching for official records of the famous Cobra bounty. Surprisingly, the evidence was thin. Some researchers argued that the story had probably been exaggerated over time. Others suggested it may have been inspired by similar events rather than one documented incident. The more historians looked, the less certain they became that the famous cobra breeding scheme had happened exactly as it was told. The story that millions of people accepted as historical fact suddenly became a mystery itself. You might think that discovering this would destroy the lesson. It didn't, because whether or not every detail happened exactly that way, the pattern certainly has. Again and again, governments, companies, and organizations have created incentives that quietly encouraged the opposite behavior they wanted. Pay hospitals based only on the number of patients treated, and unnecessary treatments can increase. Reward schools only for test scores, and teaching can become little more than test preparation. Measure employees only by the number of tasks they complete, and quality quietly disappears. The target becomes the goal, even when it stops serving the original purpose. Economists eventually realized that incentives are far more powerful than instructions. People usually don't behave according to what you hope they will do. They behave according to what the system quietly rewards. Change the reward, and you often change the behavior in ways nobody expected. Every system teaches people what matters, whether it means to or not. Sometimes the lesson is exactly what was intended. Sometimes it quietly points in the opposite direction. The strange part is that this doesn't only happen to governments. It happens inside ordinary lives. We chase numbers because they're easy to measure, followers instead of meaningful conversations, hours worked instead of valuable work, grades instead of learning, productivity instead of purpose. At first, the numbers feel like proof that we're succeeding. Then, almost without noticing, the numbers become the goal themselves. We begin optimizing for the reward instead of the reason the reward existed in the first place. The Cobra Effect isn't really about snakes. It's about what happens when a measurement replaces a mission. It's about confusing the scoreboard with the game. Once that happens, intelligent people can produce deeply irrational outcomes without realizing it. Nobody wakes up intending to make things worse. They simply respond to the incentives placed in front of them. The system quietly shapes the behavior, and the behavior quietly reshapes the system. Perhaps that's why this story has survived. Even if parts of its history remain uncertain, the details may be debated, but the pattern is unmistakably real. Every society creates rewards, every reward changes behavior, and every generation eventually discovers that solving a problem is not the same thing as rewarding the solution. Sometimes the most dangerous consequences aren't created by bad intentions. They're created by good intentions aimed in the wrong direction. The Cobra may never have been the real enemy. The real danger was believing that every problem can be solved simply by paying people to make it disappear.